What if you could do all of it? You could read every book, listen to every episode, interview the midwife, make the plan, and still walk into your birth completely unprepared. Hey there, happy home birthers, and welcome to episode 340 of the Happy Home Birth Podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin Fusco, and today we are speaking with Emily Swann. Emily is a wife to John, mom of three, and a farm woman who runs For the Love of Breastfeeding, where she teaches a bodywork course for babies and toddlers and walks mothers through a 6-month program called Guided and Grounded. She's also a nurse, an IBCLC, and holds a master's in public health and nutrition, though I will tell you right now, what she actually does with all of that looks nothing like what those titles might lead you to expect. And this one is so fun for me because Emily binge listened to every single episode of this podcast before her first baby. And then we met in real life at a craniosacral fascial therapy class, both of us pregnant, and we became friends. So this is a friend on the other side of the microphone today. And in this episode, Emily shares 3 births that could not look more different from one another. Her first with Soli was a planned home birth that did not stay at home. Her second with Bowie came early in the middle of something nobody could explain, and I will go ahead and share now. Both she and the baby came through it, and he is stout and healthy today. And her third, Arthur, was the one that convinced her, in her words, that this is how we're supposed to have babies. Now, what I really want you listening for is what changed in between. And it isn't what you'd expect, and it isn't what she went looking for. You are going to love Emily's honesty. Oh, and quickly, if you've been wondering how ready you actually are, the home birth readiness check is free in the show notes. 10 questions and a number out of 100. Go grab it, myhappyhomebirth.com/ready. Okay, let's jump in. Please remember that the opinions of my guests may not necessarily reflect my own and vice versa. And this show is not medical advice, it's an educational tool. So continue to take empowered responsibility for your health and your family. Emily, thank you so much for coming on the Happy Home Birth Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I am so excited to have you. It is so fun to get to interview a friend.
Yes.
You are just such an inspiration in so many ways. You have so much knowledge to share. Would you mind taking a moment here just at the beginning to introduce yourself and your family to the listeners?
Sure. My name's Emily Swann. I run For the Love of Breastfeeding. It's the Love of Breastfeeding on Instagram, where I have a pretty popular bodywork course for babies and toddlers, and then some other offerings in there where I work one-on-one with women. I have a master's degree in public health and nutrition. I'm a IBCLC and a nurse. And yeah, I just feel really passionate about, working with women, working with moms and babies. And I was thinking about this morning. I binge listened to every single episode of this podcast before my first baby. And then Caitlin and I took CFT together, and I fangirl messaged her and was like, hey, I'm obsessed with you and I'm going to be in your CFT class. Can we get lunch? And so thankfully she wasn't weirded out by me, but we ended
So
up
fun.
becoming buddies. But yeah, full circle to be here now. I'm so excited.
It's super fun too, just thinking about that timing because we were both pregnant.
We were both pregnant.
At the
Yes.
beginning, at that class,
Yes.
it was March, so I was going to have Bubs, our third,
Yes.
in that May, and then you
Yeah.
were 8 weeks along.
I
So,
was so sick. Yeah. I was
oh
with my second. Yes. And
yes,
yeah, I was nauseous. That's
oh boy.
funny. But that was such a fun weekend.
It was. It
Yeah.
was. Oh, that is so cool. Okay. And you have, when we just hear about what your background is, you've got this master's degree, you're nurse, IBCLC, and then where you are and what you actually do is so different from what you would expect with those titles. So
It's so
I
different.
can't wait. I can't wait for us
It's
to go
so
into
funny.
that.
I actually, I was a labor and delivery nurse, so I always think it's people love to hear that when you have a home birth or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've had this thing going on with my brother and my sister-in-law. They have some concerns about the vaccine status of my children and their new baby. And my mom was explaining to me why the measles is so dangerous. And I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. I was like, I don't want to be rude, and everyone is totally allowed to make their own choices. I was like, but I also have a master's degree in public health. So I'm kind of the expert, like, of the circle of people in this situation. I'm just saying that I'm the expert. And she was like, do you learn about vaccines there? And I was like, that's pretty much all we learned about. And she was like, oh, it's funny. So yeah, it doesn't match up, but I do love my work. And so
Mhm.
I like my educational background and I like my work, and it's different. It's definitely different from what people
That's
would
so
expect.
fun.
Yeah.
It's also funny because it's like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I don't wanna interrupt. Didn't you have the measles?"
Yeah,
Like
exactly. I was like, remember when you didn't get the measles vaccine and you're allowed to see her, but my kids aren't? Question mark.
Oh my goodness.
But no judgment, but I'm just like,
None,
I'm
none.
just saying.
All I'm saying is
Yeah,
oh, that's so funny.
it is funny.
Okay, well, let's jump into your birth stuff, and then after we hear this beautiful discussion, I wanna hear some more about what it is that you're doing.
Totally.
So let's go back to the beginning. Let's
Mhm.
go back to pregnancy with Soli
Yes.
and tell us when that was and how it unfolded.
Yeah. I think it's honestly the most non-unique story at this point of everyone in the holistic wellness space. I was pregnant with Soli. I was a labor and delivery nurse. I was working night shift 3 nights a week. I was throwing up all the time. I was giving myself IVs at work. I was vegan. I was really sick. I really was. And I just felt miserable. And I was planning a home birth, but I don't really know why, honestly
Mhm,
and truly. Like, I didn't know anyone that had had a home birth. I was obviously a labor and delivery nurse. I don't know why I felt very called to have a home birth. I did watch that documentary, Business of Being Born, but it was like I had already decided I was having a home birth. And I had this midwife who was nice, but she, like, I don't know, totally at looking back, like I was not very mature. I was like lacking a lot of personal responsibility. I was kind of in the labor and delivery nurse mindset where like I felt like she was going to deliver my baby, therefore she had all the control. So she would say things like my iron was low and she was like, well, it's because you're vegan, but like no education. So like here I am thinking like, well, being vegan's the answer. Like, haven't you heard about the health crises of America? Like, they say that we should be vegan. That's what we should do. So that's what I'm doing. So all in all, it was just like a really stressful pregnancy. My husband and I, we weren't ready to get pregnant. It was this bit of a surprise. And so we were kind of thrown into that first year of marriage, being pregnant, combining finances. I was working a lot. I kind of was like, I don't think I should be working. And he was like, oh, yeah, you need to work. And so it just like a lot of, it was really stressful. And so I was planning my beautiful home birth. I felt I listened to your whole podcast, by the way. I did not take anything and translate it into my own heart though, which is, I read every book. It's almost one of those things where I had too much information and not enough heart.
Emily,
Yeah.
I literally just and I'm not sure when this is gonna release in comparison. Before we hopped on here, I just recorded a solo episode, and you just, like, regurgitated what I
Yeah.
said. Like
Because that's the biggest struggle women have is like, I just need to know the information and then I'm going to be able to do what I need to do. And that is
Mhm.
not true.
Yep.
Knowing less is sometimes more helpful. Like, and I wish that I would have just chilled out, and
Mhm.
just, and so I felt one contraction at 39 weeks and I was like, it is go time. We are
Mm.
having a baby. So I called my midwife and I'm doing all the things, and I am really dramatizing it because like I kind of knew on some level it wasn't fully happening yet, but I felt like if I played it up, like it would get going, the energy would kick in. And so my midwife came, and this is where I will say, like, I had like a little bit of a, like, mostly 99.9%, I'm taking responsibility for that birth. But also, for 9 months, I had told this woman, I do not want any cervical checks. And she was like, yeah, totally. And so she came to my house, and I was like doing my drama of like, I'm about to be in labor, I'm about to have a baby, which I totally was not. And she was like, do you want me to just check you? And I was like, sure. And so I wish she wouldn't have asked me, but also I wish I would have been like, no, I said no.
Mhm.
And she was like, okay, you're like 1 centimeter and very high and all of the things. And so what happened after that was a 4-day experience of them staring at me and checking my cervix a gazillion times and me screaming. and throwing up.
Mhm.
That was what it was for 4 days. And it really truly was miserable. Like I felt so miserable and I felt really discouraged too. Like I felt like this was not what I was planning. There were a lot of women there. She invited her two assistants. My chiropractor showed up at one point. My mom was there, which was a huge mistake. I love her, but like she had 3 scheduled C-sections. So she was just like, what is happening? At one point, she called it barbaric, like out loud to everyone there.
Yikes.
Yikes. Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. Thanks. So I had told my husband up to that birth, like, I was like, if I need like a pep talk, like, make sure you give me a little pep talk. I felt like I was like giving him his job. I was like, make sure to give me a pep talk. On day like 3.5, I took him with me to the bathroom and I whispered, I was afraid for my life. And I was like, you need to take me to the hospital. And
Mm.
he was like, no, you're doing such a good job. Like, keep going. And like was doing his job that I asked him to do, give me a pep talk. And I was like, no, I'm serious. I
Mhm.
need you to take me to the hospital. I'm going to die. Like, that
Mm.
is how I felt. Like, I truly was like, I'm going to die. And so, but like, no, I felt like I couldn't articulate. Like, and I know this is like, people talk about this with the like birth trauma. I definitely was traumatized of like I felt like I could not communicate that I truly was afraid for my life, even though there was nothing wrong. Like
Yeah.
that's just how I felt. Like I felt like afraid for my life and I was in so much pain. So I just started pushing is what I was like, I'm just gonna push this baby out. Like, like I was like 5 centimeters dilated. Like I was like just pushing and pushing. And so the next time she checked my cervix, she was like, your cervix is swelling. Like, are you like pushing? And I was like, yes. And she was like, okay, you have to go to the hospital. And I was like, thank you. And like
Mhm.
they were gonna come with me. I was like, no, thank you. Like, I can't ever
Mhm.
look at you in the eye again. I need you to be away from me. And I got to the hospital and it truly was so interesting because I was so intent on doing this home birth, but like I get to the hospital and I immediately relaxed. All my
Ugh.
friends were there. They gave me a hug. Like I felt so safe finally and was like,
Mm.
okay, like I'm not going to die. And so I got an epidural and was like at that point begging the Lord for an epidural. Like I was like,
Mhm.
you're supposed to get 2 bags of fluids before you get an epidural. And I like wink to my friends. I was like, I'm not doing that. I need an epidural right now. And so it was actually a lovely birth after that where I had all my friends. Actually, my daughter's godmother was there at that time and
Mm.
helped me deliver her, which is so sweet. And it actually ended up being lovely, other than it was like a vacuum delivery at the end. It was like very classic, like first baby. I wasn't ready. I probably should have stayed home and like pretended I wasn't in labor for a while. So it just didn't go as planned. And then breastfeeding was so difficult. So like
Mm.
that is how I ultimately got into my work. I was just like, what happened there was like totally abnormal. Like, that should not be how women enter motherhood. And unfortunately, it very much is. And I felt very alone breastfeeding. I felt very like under supported. I felt like, and my daughter had a lot of physical issues, a lot of energetic issues from the situation. And so she just really took me on a journey of like pretty much my work today, but also of just becoming the woman and the mom that I really wanted to be. So I do think it was meant to happen that way so that I could learn for my learning, but it was truly not what I wanted to happen.
Mhm.
I became an IBCLC after I had her kind of begrudgingly. The woman who mentored me was like, you need to do this. And I was like, I hate breastfeeding. This is so hard. Every day I was crying. And she was like, no, your story is going to help people. Like, you have to keep going. And so she really took my hand and like brought me into my workspace. I took some bodywork classes, one of them with Caitlin, and just started like honing in on what kind of, personal responsibility and maturity is required of mothers. I did end up breastfeeding her for 2 years, so it was wonderful. It felt very much like redeeming for the birth
Mm.
situation. And pretty much from the moment I could like walk and function after I had her, I was like, preparing for my next labor. I was like, I will not let that happen again. And I got pregnant with my son. They're like all 2-ish years apart, all my kids. And I just kind of did things a little differently. I switched to a different midwife who was very wonderful. And I did get a 20-week anatomy scan. But then right after I got it, like literally the next day, I was like, I don't need to know anything. Like I
Mm.
all of a sudden was like, I don't need to know. And I don't need her to be there. I was like, was wonderful, so lovely. But I was like, I don't need you to be there. I don't want you to be there. I don't want anyone to be there. So I spent the last 20 weeks of that pregnancy just like totally, whatever they call it, wild. And
Mm.
it didn't feel wild. It felt like very chill. Like I was just outside every day and the sun. I was taking solely to the pool, and I got so much sun, and I ate such good food, and I wasn't nauseous anymore. I wasn't vegan anymore. And I felt amazing and like so happy and so excited to have him. When I was like 34 weeks, I got some sort of crazy virus, is what they think it was. I had like 105-degree fever for like 11 days. And around day like 8, I was like, my baby's gonna come out early. Like I just knew. Like I wasn't doing a Doppler, but I was like, he's not okay. Like I mean, I wasn't eating, I wasn't getting out of bed. I had this like splitting headache and this high fever. And my water broke one night, and we have like an hour before he's coming out, and I just knew it. And I called that midwife that I had been seeing in the beginning, and I was like, hey, I just like don't fully know if I feel like I should stay home. Like I just didn't know. Like I was so sick. I was like, what do you think the chances are that he's sick? And she was like, probably high. And I was like, okay. And he was 35 weeks. So we went to the hospital, and I actually like don't know if I would have made that choice again now, but I don't know. I mean, it's like it was very stressful, and like I kind of thought like I didn't have as much drama with him, but I did also still think I was going to die. I was like, I have to have some sort of like really bad virus. All my like liver enzymes were extremely off. My like all my like stuff was really bad. But I did go in, and I was like, hey, I don't want like anyone to bother me, anyone to touch me. And there was a really sweet midwife on call that night that I had worked with before. And so I just said, like, I'm going to go in the bathroom. And she was like, say no more. So just her and me and John went in the bathroom, and I pushed him out all on my own. And it was still very sweet and special. But he was really sick. Like he was sick. I was sick. So they took him to the NICU, and it took me a while to get better. And so thankfully, at that point, like, I was a labor and delivery nurse. I was a lactation consultant. I had been a NICU nurse, so I kind of like knew what I was going to do. And my goal was to get him out of the NICU as fast as possible because, you know, not to scare anyone, but like they really have a lot of control of your baby in there, which is kind of scary. And so I was in there every single second of the day. I would not let them bottle feed him. They did not like that. I was like, oh, you're not going to bottle feed him. And they were like, he's 35 weeks. And I was like, okay, but you're not going to bottle feed him. And so we were there for 2 days. My fever broke as soon as I had him. So they could not figure out like what happened. They couldn't find anything wrong with us. We just were really sick. I don't know. I have my suspicions, you know, but like it was very strange. And so we came home, and like, I'm not joking, like a week later, the same thing happened. Both of us, high fever, splitting headache. No one else in my house is sick. So we both got readmitted. And they think it was like spinal meningitis, but the tests were negative. So they thought maybe I had cancer at one point. Like they just really had no idea what was going on. It was very, very stressful. But my main goal at that point was to preserve breastfeeding. And so that was my main focus. And we finally got home, and he was so healthy after that. He did, for the first probably year of his life, though, have a fever like every couple weeks. And I just let him have a fever. I was like, I'm pretty sure his body just needs to rebuild an immune system after what happened. And now he never gets sick. So I think it's really interesting. Like if I had given him like Tylenol every time he got a fever, he would probably be like a very sickly baby. But he's not. He's pretty stout now. And so that time I was like, you know, what are you going to do? Like we were sick or whatever. But I told John, I was like, I will have to be blue in the lips to go to the hospital the next time we have a baby. Like you will be calling 911 on my corpse if that is what's going to happen. Like I was like adamant, we are not going. And he was like, okay.
Love it.
I don't think he believed me. He was like, okay, we do go to the hospital, it seems like, every time. And so I got pregnant with my third around that same time, and I had really dived into my work. My work was becoming very popular, and I was like, I am putting my money where my mouth is. Like, I was like, this is what I'm doing. Like, I have to walk the walk. Like I said, I didn't do anything, no ultrasounds, no blood tests. I didn't weigh myself, no blood pressure checks. I just literally spent 6 months naked outside in the sun and eating good food and just being like really, really happy with what was going on. And in my first trimester with my third, and I was like, I'm no midwife. Like, I don't need a midwife. Like, I was like, no one's helping me. I knew even my husband wasn't going to be with me for my birth. I was like, this is mine. And my first trimester, he was due around Thanksgiving. And so I started having this like idea that like, I love Thanksgiving. I was going to cook a whole Thanksgiving dinner, and then I was going to have a baby. And a couple weeks before Thanksgiving, I was like, okay, like my belly was huge. I was like, he's coming out a little early. Both of mine did. So I was like, I'm just going to assume. And so I picked a day. I was like, told my dad because he wanted to come. I said, we're going to cook Thanksgiving dinner on, whatever the Sunday before Thanksgiving, I think it was. And I woke up that morning and I was like positive I was having a baby that day, which was so cool. It's like such a testament to the fact that like, and people on Instagram are so funny because they'll be like, well, not getting an anatomy scan doesn't just make you more intuitive. I'm like, it's not really about that, but it's about like, instead of spending time and energy on midwife appointments or anatomy scan or whatever, I spent my time and energy on connecting with him. And I don't think that means you can't do both, but like, I just really lasered in on like what was going on in my body, my soul. I was literally like so spiritual. I felt like I was glowing all the time. Like, I was like, I knew exactly what was happening in there. And I woke up that morning and I was like, I'm going to have a baby today. I just knew it. So I was cooking my Thanksgiving dinner and I was like in heaven. I was so happy. And my contractions were immediately like very strong, but like I have a whole dinner I have to cook. So like they're going to have to wait. And that's the best. I wish I could go back to like before I had Sully and just be like, please ignore your contractions for as long as you possibly can.
Please just cook a Thanksgiving dinner.
Just cook a thing. That's what everyone should have to do. What doesn't matter what day of or what month it is, like just start cooking a Thanksgiving dinner. You will be very busy and unable to focus on your contractions. It was so funny though when it was all done and time to eat, I was like, I can't eat. Like I was like, I like ate like a little bit, but I was like, I can't eat. Like, I'm just like, and my dad actually my dad thinks we're so weird. Like he's so sweet to us, but he's like we have a cow and my kids are always naked and my dad is just like ultra weirded out by my family but still loves us, and he was so physically uncomfortable with the fact that I was in labor and I was being so quiet. Like it was very like I wasn't like but he knew and he was like in such a big hurry to leave my house. It was so funny. But he left at like 2 after we ate, and immediately I was like, okay, I'm glad he's gone. And I did our farm chores. I still like tried to ignore as long as I could, but then finally by like 4 o'clock, I was like, I'm gonna go upstairs and lay down. I was so tired from cooking my whole Thanksgiving meal. And we all sleep in like one big family bed, and I was upstairs laying in the family bed. I knew I was like, soon I'm gonna have to get up because it's gonna get really uncomfortable. But I was like, just laying there, like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, my kids are gonna come to bed in a little while and I'm gonna have a baby and bring it to bed. Like, I was like, I just knew that that's what was gonna happen. And so I finally had to get up and I was like kind of walking around in my room, but just like felt really called to like a dark, quiet place. I had Bo on the toilet too. So I was like, I just went into our bathroom. I like knew I was gonna have him on the toilet. We have this like pocket door like toilet room, so like in our bathroom there's like a smaller very dark room, and I brought a pillow in and like faced the back of the toilet, and I spent the probably 2 hours in there before he was born. I will say that my birth with Bowie was very easy. I don't know if it was just because I was really sick and he flew out of me, but this one felt harder. I wouldn't describe either of them as painful, especially as what I experienced with Soli. Like, I just wouldn't describe either of my other two births as painful, but this one was pretty intense. Like, I was dripping with sweat. Like, it was like falling off of me like raindrops, and I've never done that before. And I was like an athlete. Like, I've never sweated like that in my life. And I was like starting to be like, okay, like this is really intense. And at one point I stood up and I just wanted to know like what time it was. I was like, how long has this, been going on? And I went and got my phone and it was like 6:20, and I was like, okay, like 2 hours of like intensity. And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna see like how close these contractions are because they feel like right on top of each other. And they were like a minute apart, like a minute break. And I was like, okay, I'm almost done. But then I like for some reason felt called to like reach in there and see. I was like, maybe my baby's right there and I can just be done. And my mucus plug came out. And so I fully fell apart where I was like, I am in early labor. And I literally was like, I can't do this. This is so uncomfortable. Like, I can't do this for many more hours. And so I literally looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, okay, but you can't get in the car like this. Like, you cannot drive like this. And so I was like, we have no choice. We have to just stay here because I can't get in the car. That's unbearable. I did at one point, I don't know if this was during that time, but I got like in my bathtub. We have like a cast iron, like old farmhouse bathtub. And I thought it would be like very sweet, and I felt like a caged animal. Like I was like, I have to get out of here, but my contractions were so close that I like couldn't get out, and I started to like I was like naked, stuck in the bath. Was so Meanwhile, my husband had checked on me 2 times, and both times he asked if my water broke. I have no idea why he asked me that, but the second time I was like, "Would you stop asking me that?" Like, I was so, like, irritated by him, and so he just left. Like, I think he knew. I was like, "Please leave me alone." I went back to my dark room in the toilet room, and I just gave myself a pep talk. I was like, "Emily, you know you're at the end. Like, you obviously are about to have a baby. Like, that is why you're spiraling. Get your life together and whatever." And I truly felt at that point like something was coming to me and being like, "Hey, your baby's coming. You're going to be fine." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be fine." And 10 minutes later, I was like pushing. And my husband had just gotten the kids. So it was like right under 7 o'clock. My kids went to bed really early, and he had just gotten the kids to sleep. So I called him and I was like, "I'm sorry, can you wake up Sully?" Because she really wanted to see it. But at that point, like I was pushing the baby out. It happened really fast. And John like barely saw it. And he came out in call, like just, I felt his whole sack, and then I like felt it pop right above the toilet. And then I picked him up and I immediately knew he was a boy. And I just started laughing. Like, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, this is how we're supposed to have babies." Like, I just was like, I was so full of joy. And I was laughing because, like, 10 minutes before that, I was like, "I'm in early labor. Like, why?" Um, and I mean, overjoyed. Like, I felt so, I don't know, like, I just really felt connected to women who have had babies for thousands and thousands of years without any help. Like, I was like, I didn't need anyone. No one would have been able to help me in this. And they would have been in my space in my toilet room, like crowding me. And it was just the best. It was truly the best. Sully came in right after he was born, and she got to see him, and she was so excited. And I pushed him out a little fast. Like, my next baby, I have a goal to not do that because I kind of hurt myself, I think. And so I like waddled to my bed, and I was like, it really hurt. Like, at that point, I was like, ow. And my placenta took a long time to come out, but I think it's because I was like in so much pain that I was like clenching and, resisting. So I ended up like cutting the cord. It had been a long time, like almost 2 hours. I ended up cutting the cord and letting Soli hold him first, which she was so excited about. And I had to get on hands and knees and like push it out. But I was starting to like panic a little bit because it had taken a long time and I was in so much pain. I got like a hematoma, like right above my vagina, and like it was like as big as a baseball, and it hurt so bad. But I really feel like it was the Lord being like, "You need to stay in bed," because I'm a little go go go, and my husband and I both own our own businesses, and we didn't have a lot of help. I heard him struggling a little bit downstairs, and if I hadn't been completely handicapped by that thing, then I would have gotten up and tried to help. So I had to stay in bed for like 3 weeks, and truly it was like, it took like 8 weeks for it to get better. And I did at one point Google, like, should I go get it? I talked to my midwife, my old midwife too, and she was like, "Well, you could go get it lanced." And I was like, "A scalpel down there? No, I'm not going to do that." So yeah, I did my red light thing on it all the time. And that, I do think that helped. That was the only part that was a little like hard. But at the same time, I really think, things happen for a reason. And I would have been up and milking the cow probably at 2 weeks postpartum, and we shouldn't do that. And I know that logically, but like I would have done it because my husband hates milking the cow, and I could hear him out there just having a miserable time. And so I would have gone out and done it for him. And so that was very providential, where I felt like I truly had no choice but to rest. And I had cooked a massive Thanksgiving dinner. So we had so much food, and John just every day for like 2 weeks, I ate Thanksgiving. And so, if for no other reason everyone should cook a Thanksgiving meal the day they're in labor, it's so that you have a bunch of Thanksgiving food for postpartum, which is probably not the most postpartum friendly. It was like a little carb heavy, but
So good
but
though.
it was so good.
So good.
And yeah, it was the best. And he's my first baby that has never had anyone put hands on him. No one's interfered with us. He literally came right into the family bed. My middle son, Bo, slept through the whole thing and woke up the next morning and was like, "Look, that's my brother." And he was like, "I like him." Yeah, it was so
I like
cute.
it.
He was like, "I like that baby." And it was, I mean, like, I have no words. And now I'm like so convinced that that is how we are supposed to have babies. And potentially other women would feel more comfortable with a midwife. I just truly felt like I couldn't be like watched again, or I would have PTSD from Soli's. Where even my husband, like I said, like I really just like the two times he checked on me, I was like, you have to go away. Like you have to leave me alone. And
Mhm.
I think he preferred it that way too, honestly. Like I sometimes I think men just like don't really know what to do in labor, but yeah, it was just I literally like I could not have been more convinced. I was like, this is how we're supposed to have babies. Like,
Mm,
and it was easy. I mean,
mm,
easy, pain free, just like it just really asked me to be very present. That's all I feel like it was. Like not painful, not hard. It just was like you need to be right here. You cannot escape it. You have to be right here. And so that's what and then when I tried to escape for that few minutes where I was like, "Oh my god, I'm in early labor. Should I get in the car? Should I go to the hospital?" Then it hurt, because I
mhm,
was like escaping. And it's like once I was like, "No," I was like, this is
mhm,
how it's supposed to be. And then all of a sudden the pain goes away again. It's just so fascinating to me. I read Yolanda Norris Clark's Pain Free Portal, and that helped before I read it a long time ago, and then I read it again when I was pregnant with Arthur, and that helped where it was like this is doesn't have to be painful. Like
mhm,
it can be, it's fine, but like I'm gonna choose to like not let it be painful. And
mhm,
it was so fascinating, and he is such a fun baby, and I think I might be addicted to having babies. Like I could
mhm.
have 10 more.
Yeah.
I just love it. So they will all be born at home without a midwife from now on because that was the bomb, in my opinion.
Mhm. Wow. Yeah, I love okay, so our similarities are third baby, boy, in
Yes.
call, no midwife. Like we
Well,
check the same boxes with that third baby.
we sure did. And I'm curious how many more babies would be born on call if people weren't like interfering with birth, right? Like
Yep. Mhm,
it just made sense to me that like I was like, of course he came out on call because that it's protective of pain. Like
mhm,
when their sac breaks and their head's on you without that cushion, it's different.
mhm.
So yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I think it would be a lot more. All 3 of mine, my water broke, like, all 3 of them right at the end, like or
Yeah.
so 2 of them, it was right at the end, and then
Yeah.
Bubs, it didn't.
I feel like that's probably how it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
Is he a swimmer? Because Arthur literally can swim as a baby, and I just think it's because he was an on-call baby.
amazing. Okay, well, he loves to be in the water. I wouldn't be like, "Oh, yeah, just go take a swim," like, without
Yeah.
without me,
No.
but he does love, love, love the water.
Yeah, I think
All
that
of
they
my
become
kids have.
water babies. Yeah.
Yep,
Interesting. Interesting.
yep. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, Emily. Like, what a massive transformation. Like, just
truly.
hearing also, just the fact that you started off with this desire to have a home birth.
Yes.
It's not like, oh wow, everything changed, but actually everything changed.
Yeah.
Everything changed.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that motherhood is every time we have a baby, we're supposed to change, that's part of that process. And if I listened to this like on your podcast and I was like having my first baby, it wouldn't be helpful for me to just be like, I'm going rogue, like, because I was afraid and I wanted someone to do it for me. And whether that's right or wrong, I really wanted my midwife to like hold my hand, and I really wanted the drama about it. Like it just that made me feel good at the time, but looking back I'm like I don't think that serves me, but at the same time like that was part of my like how I was going to change. So like I'm not
Mhm.
going to deny that experience. But yeah, this such a big difference, and it just personally, and like my husband was like he literally was like, I can't believe you just like got pregnant and then just had a baby, like made Thanksgiving dinner and then had a baby. And then that's it. Like with no drama. I hardly talked about my pregnancy much at home. Like with Sully, I'd be like, I have to lay down. Like, and this time I was like, I laid down, don't get me wrong. Like he would come downstairs and I'd be laying down at like 5 o'clock. I'm like, I'm all done. But like not with the drama anymore. And
Mhm.
because it didn't serve me now as a more mature woman. And I'm curious to see even like with more babies, like, I read that parenting book that's popular, Hunt Gather Parent, and I like a long time ago, and I was really resonant with the Inuit woman who like quietly went and had her baby, like nursed her 3-year-old to sleep and then like quietly went and had a baby. And I was like, I think that that is what is expected of us. And we just have at this point created a lot of drama around birth. Even in the holistic world where it's home births, there's still so much drama. So yeah, I loved the like non-drama, like I'm just gonna go have a baby. And I can picture myself doing that for 10 more years of just
Mhm.
every other year, just slipping away and having a baby, in the late evening.
Yeah. 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 And alongside the word drama, I think of the word production, like
Mm,
making it a production
yes.
versus the embodied experience of
Totally.
the
Because it is
transformation.
supposed to still be a big experience, but for us, like
Hmm.
personally, it's not supposed
Internally.
to
Yeah.
be a production. It's supposed to
Hmm.
be a transformation.
Hmm.
That matrescence transformation is so fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think when we do a big production, I can only say this because I did it and questionably maybe did it with my second as well. I'm not fully convinced that that's why I was so sick, but it's possible. But like we take away from that process of like maturing because we're expending so much energy outward as opposed to inward. Yeah, I would have loved to like go back and like tell myself to like, why don't you like journal instead of like calling a bunch of people or like, talking to about it. Like, what if you just journaled about it instead
Mhm.
of making it a big show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I think about your second, there's this interesting concept of like burning off the old.
I
Like,
literally,
like
yeah,
you were burning it off, like feverishly burning
yeah.
off the old version of you.
Yeah, and I had stuff going on with my husband at the time that was I was, like, enraged about, and it was the beginning of what our marriage is today. It literally felt like we burned down our marriage and rebuilt it, and I'm curious if that was it, like, the fiery rage and rebuilding, burning down, but I also went to a petting zoo, like, the day before I got sick, and so I'm not fully convinced
Right.
that I didn't get something
Okay.
from the petting zoo.
Maybe both.
I don't
Maybe.
know. I mean, they did hundreds of tests on me. I went through all kinds of machines, CTs and whatever. They could not find they tested me for the Ebola virus. Like, they were like, "We have no idea why you're sick." So, that to me sounds like there's an energetic component,
Wild.
but who knows? I don't get to know. I don't have to
Yeah.
know,
No,
but it
we
was
can just
wild.
accept it and take
It
it
did make me decide that the medical system is nonsense though, because number 1, they couldn't find what's wrong, right? And 2, all they did was monitor me and give me Tylenol. I was like,
and
I could have done this at home. And same with Bo, just gave him Tylenol. And I was like, it costs like $15,000. We're still paying for it. And I'm like, for him to have Tylenol, like
mhm,
and so I told John, I was like, oh, we literally would have to be blue in the lips for me to take my
mhm.
kids to the doctor ever again because I'm like convinced that they don't know anything. And like, I'm pretty sure they were just back there on ChatGPT, like trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And like, and then they
Oh.
were like, no, you can't breastfeed. I was like, you guys don't know anything. Like, you literally
Based
know
on what?
nothing. Yeah, based on what I was like, I am going to breastfeed him. Why don't you focus on your job, which is to figure out why I'm so sick? Like, yeah, so I have like a low opinions on them now, which is sad because it wasn't their fault. But at the same time, I'm like, Tylenol and fluids, like, I could have done that at home. So it is interesting, but we're supposed to have the processes that we're supposed to have. Like every
Mhm,
baby, Arthur has been my hardest baby. I don't know if I've told you that, but he's kind of like a handful. Like he wants to be walked around a lot. And I mean, not so much now, but like as a new baby, it was kind of like I was used to them just like living on my boob and like that's it. Like he kind of wanted a little more, like kind of like that. And it challenged me because I had 2 other kids and a business and a farm, and I think I was supposed to have that process though because I was like, "Oh, babies are my calling. I'm so
mhm.
good with babies," and, so it's like, "Okay, well, here's a hard baby. What do you think about that?" Like
How about them apples?
yeah, exactly, which I think is hilarious, like, "Please humble me,"
Mhm,
But it was such a, like, good it's just been the best. Like, I truly
mhm,
just love motherhood. I love watching all my kids, like, and just, like, you guys are so perfect. You're
mhm,
so perfect, and you bring me so much joy, and I could be pregnant forever, and I could have a million of you, and it's just literally such a special feeling to, like, soak in motherhood as opposed to, like, how society, I think, sees it now, which is, like, it's like a burden.
mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm 100% with you right there. Just, oh, it's just the best. And like when
Yes.
you just look at them and you
Yeah.
see who they are, who they were formed to be before
Yes.
they were even in our womb,
I know.
who the Lord just like created, imagined up, and
Uh-huh.
then to be able to like witness it. And so often you see so many of their little like pieces of their identity early on, and then you
Mhm.
get to watch it unfurl and you get to foster it and you get to just
Yes.
be a witness to like
Mhm.
this is amazing. Like, and my kids are so different. Like, each
Yeah.
one of them, they're so
Mhm.
different. And it's just mind blowing of like, how are you so special? Like, how are
That's
you
how I feel.
so unique?
Yes, that's how I feel, and I honestly feel like that's how we should feel about birth, is like, what if I could
Mhm,
just, like, kind of, like, step out and witness my own experience of birth,
mhm,
like, without having to change it or, like, fix it or whatever, and it's such a balance of, like, okay, well, if you have nausea, like, you're probably gonna be Googling, "How do I stop this nausea?" But
mhm,
can you instead just, like, witness it? Like, "Okay, like, I'm having nausea," Like, what if I just sit with that for a minute? Or, like,
mhm,
whatever else. Like same with like labor stuff where it's like, can I just sit with the fact that like this is uncomfortable, like
mhm.
without trying to change it? And it's such a good practice for motherhood because our kids are going to do things that make us uncomfortable and things that we want to change. And it's like, but should I, or should I just be here and like
Mhm.
watch it, and just like be your most biggest witness of like who you are as a person and shepherd you in that way. I don't know. It's very
Yep.
cool.
Oh my goodness. I love it.
Yeah.
This just, I mean, the way that you transformed throughout your three births is exactly what you do now.
It is.
That is your work.
Mhm.
So, can you tell us about that, how that kind of came to be and what it looks like now?
Yeah. So it totally started like, just I think it's so funny because like when I had Soli, I was still very much like trying to fix things and whatever. And so then I became a lactation consultant and I was like always latching babies for moms. And like I'm not saying I wasn't helpful. Potentially I was, but like doing everything for them. And right after we had Bowie, we moved out to our farm and we're like 45 minutes outside the city. And so I was like, I can't see people in person anymore. I have two kids and whatever. And so it was John's idea, but John was like, you should make some kind of course. And I was like, I'm not really like tech savvy. So it like sounded very overwhelming to me. But I had these girls that helped me build it. But I was like, my goal was like, oh my gosh, like this makes even more sense because it shouldn't be me. It should be them. Like mom should be doing that. Like there's nothing special that I'm doing, right? It's just like I have the education. And so I just need to teach them. And now I need to teach them in a way that makes sense, especially like a lot of moms buy my course when their baby's a week old and crying all the time. Like they don't need like a master's level course. They need something like do this, do this, do this. And so that's what I did. I built my bodywork course for babies that helps with like, breastfeeding issues, mostly colic, babies not meeting their developmental milestones on time, anything that would be related to like a fascial tightness issue. And I really focused in on what I believe is important, which is like an open bodied baby, a baby that like opens up their body and breastfeeds better with their chin off their chest was like the main focus of my course. And I even like in the early probably 6 months of selling that, it was like I still was trying to fix like you have this problem, buy my course. You have this problem, buy my course. And it's totally not wrong still, but like the more I've had babies and like matured, the more I've pulled back where like now when I get on like lactation calls virtually, I literally like try and do my best to say the least amount, to involve myself the least as possible, just to like guide and direct mom to being that person for her baby and realizing that she actually has all of the things that she needs, which then led to my kind of bigger program I have. It's called Guided and Grounded, where I spend 6 months with women and I really teach like so much more stuff about just like personal responsibility and a lot of resourcing stuff. So like moms that aren't eating enough, like I do a bunch of stuff in there. I won't totally bore you with the details, but the goal is to like get moms to be very confident. And so I had a mom recently. She was in it for 6 months and then she like re-upped for 6 more months. So it's been 9 months I've been working with her. And she sent me something the other day. And I was like, oh my gosh, you got it. Like she was like, "Oh, I was gonna do this, but I thought I'd stop here first and like just kind of assess and sit with it." And I was like, "You got it. Like you've stopped doing things and have started, just sitting and like being that's it." Like and that doesn't mean we don't do things, right? But like it was so fascinating to see that her brain has changed from like, well, I'm going to go to this doctor. I'm going to go to this chiropractor. I've heard this person's really good. I've heard this person's really good. And it's like I finally was like, "What are you trying to achieve? Like, what are you trying to fix?" And she didn't even know because she was so knee deep in like the pursuit of what is next on the like crunchy mom's list of things to do. So it's so cool, and that space is really special, and I really, really, really love it. And I have a small team of women that do lactation appointments for my company now, who are all truly amazing. And we just do the best we can to teach moms as opposed to fixing babies, which I think is massively missing in the lactation world right now. There's so much focus on, I mean, it's just endless, like about your baby and their tongue tie, your baby and why they don't sleep well, your baby and the eczema. Like it's like the magnifying lens is on babies, and no one is talking about moms because babies can't feel shame yet, and moms
Mm,
can, and we don't want to hurt their feelings. But the truth is that it is our responsibility to look at these things, and like sometimes when we resume and look at the mother baby dyad as the whole or just as the mom, the baby resolves whatever issue they're having without us doing anything to them, which is so fascinating. I found that with my first, where I was like, something must be wrong with her, and really there was nothing wrong with either of us. I just needed to take more responsibility for the way that we were living, and all of her issues resolved. I mean, things that you see on Instagram where it's like, she had the airway issues, and she was like, I mean, really snoring overnight and really like dark circles. Like she had all of the things that if I was looking on Instagram, I'd be like, oh, we need to go have a tonsillectomy. We need to get a
mhm.
palate expander. She probably needs the frenectomy I never got. Like, and that's not necessarily true. And she resolved all of her issues without me. I do my body work stuff, but like a lot of it was just taking responsibility for the energy of our home. So that's what I teach in my container, which like I said is like a much bigger investment. But my bodywork course is where most people like find me in my page or appointments. They'll find us for appointments. My team is so good at this point, helping moms virtually. So it's just a blessing. I love my work. I think it's very special. The women that are in my container, I become very close with. Like it's very sweet. And when they send me updates on their kids later, it makes me want to cry because they're so cute. And yeah, I just feel I'm living the dream, honestly. Like I love my farm, I love my home, I love my husband, I love my kids. I literally go to bed every night and I'm like weeping because
Mm.
I cry a lot. I'm a crier. I weep. I'm just like I feel so blessed that it makes me want to cry at all times.
It's amazing.
It is
It's
amazing.
amazing. Like, it's
It
just
is.
like, and I think so much of it is that perspective shift of like,
It
okay,
is.
like what's the point here?
Mm.
What are we doing? Like, I love the way that you said that about like the magnifying glass on my baby versus like,
Yes.
oh, me.
Yes.
Me, what can I do? Like, how
Yes.
can I, number one, sit with things, but like,
Yes.
how can I be more expansive? How can I
Yes.
receive more, to
Yeah.
give more, to,
Yeah.
and so much of that is like non, it's like not even, the point is not what decision you make. I, you know?
Exactly. You're such a good example of that because you got the frenectomy right for both your kids, but you had two very different experiences. And it's like, it's not about doing or not doing the frenectomy. It's about us. It's about us as
Right.
moms. And like I felt like you were so amazing to like witness where it was like, yeah, like this, we did this, and I'm feeling really good. And now we're
Mhm.
going to go get the frenectomy, and he's perfect and wonderful either way. Like,
Yeah, and would I do it now? I don't know that I would. Like, like
who
next time,
knows?
like I like to think like, "Oh, yeah, that is not what I'm gonna reach for."
But
Maybe I will though, and I don't care. Like,
it doesn't
it's
matter.
such a
Yeah.
exactly.
I love that.
It's such a beautiful place to be where it's like I feel so capable in making
Hmm.
decisions. Like,
Yes.
I feel good about making a decision and then being like, "Yeah, that's the decision I made. Like, I'm gonna
That's
go
how
with
I
it," you know?
feel. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good. It's so freeing. So if you're listening to this and you're like, well, my decision is I'm going to get an anatomy scan. Get it,
Get it.
girl. Like,
Get it.
cool.
Yes.
I love that.
I do too.
I just love moms who feel strongly about what they're doing. Life is not happening to you.
Mm-mm.
You are the one that is making things move. You are
Yes.
the one that is in the position of control. Like, you're in the seat
Mhm.
of decision making. Like,
Yeah.
that's like the greatest thing in the world.
It literally is. I had someone send me on Instagram the other day, this woman, like her reel about like, I'm having a scheduled C-section or whatever. And they sent it to me like, ew, can you believe her? And I was like, she knows what she wants. I
Yes.
like that for her. Would I do
Mhm.
that? No, but like, we got to do what we feel like is best, and we cannot. And I think this is why your podcast is so helpful. It's like, you can't just go to your OB and be like, well, what should I do? They're going to
Mhm.
say you should have a hospital birth, and guess what? They are going to intervene on you, and they are going to ruin your life. It's like, sorry, you're going to, but if you want a hospital birth and you have a plan and you have communicated, that is not the same thing as being like,
Mm-mm.
someone help me, what should I do?
Right.
And then having a hard, I mean, that's what I did with Soleil. I wanted a home birth, right? So I'm like checking the box of like, this is better than a hospital birth. But guess what? I still was completely outsourcing all of what I needed to do. And I had a miserable time where
Mhm.
it's like, I just didn't know really what I wanted. Like, and I didn't know how to prepare for that.
Yep.
And I love women that come to me and they're like, okay, I'm like, want to do your body work. I want to talk through this, but I'm getting a frenectomy. I'm like, go and get it. Do
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I
Mhm.
like that for you. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Like, it's so, I think more women are doing it. We're taking
Mhm.
back control of what's ours, you know,
Mhm.
and our home and our energy is ours. And I think that the more that we do that, the our kids are going to reflect it in the next
Mhm.
generation, which is so cool.
I just had a conversation with a friend recently who has had two hospital births, two home births, thinking about fifth pregnancy and was like, I don't want to do it at home again.
I
Like,
met a woman
I
at
don't
church who said it was her fifth, and she was like, I had him in the hospital with an epidural, my first
yeah,
epidural, baby
yeah,
number 5. She was like, I shouldn't really want to do it this time.
I
And I
don't
was
want
like,
to do it.
ah, that is amazing.
Like,
Like,
yes, it is so like, oh my gosh, just
yes.
it's just the difference between falling into whatever happened versus, oh, this is the direction. Like, this
Yep.
is the path. Like, oh,
I
you
agree.
can be so like filled with confidence, whatever your choices are, when you are the one making them.
Yeah,
And I think that's just,
absolutely.
Emily, your work is really incredible. It's so exciting. It's so exciting that you get to be on the sideline, just like we're talking about, like witnessing our children be who they are. You're getting to witness mothers become who
Hmm.
they are intended to be. And that is just, that sounds magical.
It is magical. I do love it.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm going to put all of your information in the show notes so that people can
Okay.
find you
Thank you.
super easily. This was so much fun. Like,
This
just
was so fun.
such a joy. And oh, I will say, Emily and I did an interview actually inside of my course, Whole Mother Home
Yes.
Birth. So if you have access to that, you'll get that interview with Emily, and then and access like a nice little discount to her course as
Yeah, I
well.
think I
So
need to update yours though, right? Did we do
oh,
it this
probably
year or
so.
was it last year? Let
It
me,
may have been last
I'll send you an email, but that was so fun. And your
year. Yeah.
space is so helpful to so many women, I'm positive.
Well, thank you. It was such an honor to have you, Emily. Thank you so much for coming on the Happy Home Birth podcast.
Thank you for having me.
What a story. As we head into this week's episode roundup, I cannot stop thinking about a few themes from this episode. First, the line that I think a lot of you may have felt deeply inside of your heart: I had too much information and not enough heart. Emily had listened to every episode of this show. She had read every book. She had a master's degree, a nursing license, and she'd been the one at the foot of the bed for other women's births. And she still walked into that first labor with all of it sitting outside of her. Being informed is not the same as being formed, my friends. It never has been. Information is wonderful, and I will hand you all of it that I have, but it does not become yours until it goes through your heart and your body and your practice. Emily is living proof that you can be the most educated woman in the room and still be waiting for someone else to do it for you. And I want to flag something for you here because I don't normally do this. On Wednesday, I'm dropping a bonus solo episode, just me, about 10 minutes, called Why More Research Isn't Making You Feel Ready. And it is on this exact thing. I had actually recorded it the day before Emily and I sat down, which is why you heard me interrupt her mid story to tell her she had just handed my own episode back to me. So, if what she said about her first birth landed anywhere near home for you, come back Wednesday, this Wednesday, the 26th. It's the teaching version of what you just heard her live. Next, let's talk about what happened with the cervical checks because I want to be careful here. For 9 months, Emily told her midwife she did not want to be checked. Then her midwife arrived, offered a check. Emily said, sure. And notice how Emily holds responsibility of that. She says she wishes her midwife hadn't asked. And she also says she takes 99.9% of the responsibility for that birth. She doesn't hand it off. She doesn't villainize a woman who was, by her own account, nice. She just tells the truth about where her own authority went. And there's something enormous for us in that. The decision you make on a Tuesday afternoon in a prenatal appointment is not the same decision you'll be asked to make at 3 a.m. with a house full of people watching you. So practice saying it out loud when nothing is on the line. That's not being difficult, that's rehearsal. Third, drama versus transformation. Emily used the word drama over and over about that first birth. The calling of people, the playing it up, the performing of labor to try to make labor happen. And I offered the word production, and she took it further and said something I have been really thinking on ever since. It is supposed to be a big experience, but it's not supposed to be a production. Internally, it's enormous. Externally, simple. When she had Arthur, her dad ate Thanksgiving dinner in her house and left. Her husband was upstairs putting the kids to bed, and she was in a dark bathroom having a baby. There was nothing to watch. That doesn't mean that your birth has to look like that. Some of you want your mother there and your sister there and your best friend taking pictures, and that is beautiful and that is yours. But it is worth asking honestly, is that person in the room because I want her or because I want the birth to be a specific thing? And fourth, this one is for the mothers deep in it right now. Emily's whole body of work came out of the hardest part of her story. The breastfeeding that nearly broke her, the baby she thought was broken. And what she found was that the magnifying glass was pointed the wrong direction. She said no one is talking about moms because babies can't feel shame yet, and mothers can. So we focus on the baby. We chase the tongue tie, the chiropractor, the next appointment on the crunchy moms list. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, when the mother is tended to, the baby resolves without anyone doing a single thing to him. So let's witness before we try to jump in and fix. That goes for your baby. That goes for your labor. And I'd argue that it goes for you. Now, I want to say one more thing before I let you go because Emily said it first and she said it better. If you're pregnant with your first baby and you just listened to a woman birth alone on a toilet and caul, and you're thinking, that's what I want, that's what readiness looks like, hear her. She told us that if she'd heard this episode before her first baby, I'm going rogue would not have been helpful for her. She was afraid, she wanted her hand held, and that was the truth. That was honest of where she was. Her third birth was not a technique she learned. It was the fruit of who she'd become across 2 births, one of which was frightening and one of which was genuinely traumatic. And it still cost her a hematoma the size of a baseball, 3 weeks in bed, 8 weeks to heal. It wasn't free, but it was hers. So you don't have to skip to the end of somebody else's story. You get to become the woman who can meet whatever is actually in front of you. If this episode left you wondering where you actually stand in your own preparing, go take the home birth readiness check. It's 10 questions. I walk you through every one, and it's free in the show notes. I'll tell you what kind of prepared you are, which is more useful than knowing how prepared you are. myhappyhomebirth.com/ready. Okay, my friends, that's all I've got for you for today. I'll see you back here next week.